Good afternoon. Thank you very much. I feel so pleased and feel great honorable to take a lecture here in Michigan University. So thanks with the exchange the program of between the two schools. Thank you. Because my English is so poor. My specialist in the Chinese ancient music.
It's first language in Japan.
I studied Japan for a long time, more than 10 years. But now I speak Chinese, English. So I maybe half a year I cannot read the Romanized. So especially in the Chinese documentary of the. So it's quite different with Professor Yang. He talked about the Chinese temperate music, and I speak. My topic is about the Chinese Tang Dynasty or Song Dynasty, especially in the. So because my English very poor, I written down my paper. I read it for you. Sorry. So the study, the temperature of the Tang Dynasty music and its reconstructive of the performance. This is my topic. Yeah, the music notation is an important method of recording and preserving and transmitting music. China has a long history throughout which the formation and development of her notation systems and represented and influenced many regions in Asia, especially in East Asia. When did music notation appeared in the ancient music? What forms of the notations were there in China? Within China, what is the state of research on this field? And through this interpretation of the ancient notation, how to attempt to the reconstruction of the ancient music is what I want to talk about today's folks. Considering the above questions, I'd like to discuss the three main points. The first, the main types of the notation in Chinese history. The second is the state of the research on the Chinese ancient notation. Third, the state of the try to reconstructions of the ancient music. So the Chinese notation, the formation of the Chinese tablet has a long history. It dates back to the 3rd century BC. The earliest record of the Chinese drum notation is found in the Liqi Tohu, which was edited in the East Han 200 BC of the Confucius works. The record of described of two groups of the Xue and Li Lu as a gamble of the recorded which the group wins through the sword on a pot. If the Xue groups would win, the drum would be hit and one score's mark would be written down. And if the Lu groups would win, one circle mark would be written down. Like this. Yeah. The circle and the scores marks here. And this, the gamble and the recording, which the group wins through the sword into the pot. Yeah. The earliest Qing notations appeared in the 6th century of the Liang Jing period of the Jie Diao Yulan. This notation is the literary form of the Qing notation that relates through the characters how to play the Qing. See the picture. This is Chinese characters and like this. The notations related to the finger and the positions for the left hand and the string and the manner of the play for the right hand. From these two instructional sentences, a pitch can be played. It is very complex that the two sentences expresses one pitch. The Tang Dynasty, the literary form of the form of the notations was reformed by the Chen Zhou and Cao Rou. This revised the notations is called Jianzi notations. Jian means omitted and Zi means Chinese character. Thus, Jianzi notations means leave out part of the character and use the left side of the Chinese character to form a new word to represent the one pitch. 4 parts of the single characters constitute of the Jianzi character with up and a lower section, like this. The Jianzi notations is the 4 parts of the single characters, the institute of the Jianzi characters with the up and the lower. Yeah, this is an instrument of a Ching. Yeah, this is a form and is the back. And the Chings, the 13th positions, yeah, the 7 strings. Now, this is a Ching tablet. The left hand, left and right. So for the left hand, use the ring finger. Yeah, use the ring finger on the 9th positions. For the right hand, plug in the 2nd string. This usage of the tablature is still used today. Yeah, this is a gesture to translate the tablature into the modern score. Okay. At the beginning of the 20th century, Peapod notation. This is a music instrument of Peapod notations. Yes. The Peapod notations, the words transcribed before the year of 933 were discovered in the Western China in Dunhuang Cave. The Dunhuang Peapod scores together recorded 25 pieces that are divided into the 3 groups according to the different transcriptions handwriting pieces. Yeah, like this. This is a this is a 4-stringed Peapod and this is a 5-stringed Peapod. Yeah, this is reserved in the shell sewing in the Nara shell sewing museums. Yeah, this is a Dunhuang Peapod notations. The total of the 25 pieces, according to the 3 kind of the handwriting, the different kind of handwriting. So they divided into the 3 groups, the 10, 10, 5. The original scores is preserved in France in the Paris National Libraries, BNF. The earliest Peapod notation is preserved in the Nara shell sewing museums in Japan, because the Peapod notations were transcribed in the year of 747 during the Japanese Empire regime of the Tenbyo 19. They are also called the Tenbyo Biwafu notation, like this. This is the earliest Peapod notations. It is a 37-long secretary document with 6 lines of the tablature notes on the back of the document, because it's a Chinese, yes, Huang Zong Diao. Yes, this is a turner. Yeah, this is a tablature notations, Peapod of Peapod, reserved in shell sewing. So this is a because of the frequent cultural exchange between China and Japan in the 7th to 9th century, the Japanese envoys took many Chinese notations back to Japan. Japanese envoys studied and imitated the Chinese notation, which gradually developed into the notations still used today. There were several other similar Peapod notations, 5-string biwafu, written in 773, preserved in Yome Bunko, as well as 8th century notations for the stride-neck 5-string Peapod. Miyamoto, yeah, this is the only 5-string Peapod notations. This is a program of the notations. And the others is the 4-string Peapod Miyamoto no Nangu Biwa, written in the 838. So this is a Peapod notations. there are 20 Peapod table rich notations for the 4th string Peapod and 27 table rich notations for the 5th string Peapod. But the 20s, they are the same, and the 7th Peapod notation notes is quite different. And in the Peapod squares. No. There are many other music scores notations besides the Peapod. This is also the Peapod notations. The Chinese pronunciation is 三五要路. The Japanese pronunciation is 三个要路. Yeah. And this is also the Peapod notations. And this is a bamboo flute. And this is a long sitar, 13 strings long sitar. The Fujiwara Monogara is Chinese pronunciation is Zheng Jing Chioloku. And the mouth organ, Peapod, mouth organ notation. Okay. So the second part on the study of the Chinese ancient notations. Considering the function and effect, notation greatly differs in Western and Chinese music events. Due to the Eastern systems of the oral teaching, notation does not hold in the important status in the music activities. Compared with the Western scores, Chinese notations were not strictly dependent on the music performance. Although the music notations appeared very early, beginning in the Song Dynasty, people began to have a difficulty reading the scores on the former dynasty. People from later dynasty thus began to solve the notations problems of the former dynasty. Because of the time, I want to focus on the discussion on the study of on the notation, especially in the 20th century. Yeah. The Qing dynasty on the study, the first. The Qing notation is one of the most important quotations in the Chinese history, developed from the 6th century among the scholars and officials in China till now. Due to the time limitation, I would focus on the discussion about the other notations of Chinese secular music. 2. On the study of the Peapod notation. As a result of the 20th century's discovery of the Dunhuang Peapod scores, there has been the increased interest within China in the ancient score studies. This rising interest began when the Tang Dynasty music scores, which date back to the year of 933 in the 4th years of the Changxing, were discovered in the Dunhuang caves that preserved the Buddhism sculpture. In actually, research on the Peapod notation began in the Japan when the Japanese scholar Hayashi Kenzo, Nara Educational University, started researching on the Tenbyo Biwafu, written in the year of 747. Hayashi Kenzo published his paper on the study of the ancient biwa notation in the 1938. In later, on the published and articles study on the explication of the ancient music scores of Peapod discovered at Dunhuang, China in 1955. Journal of the Nara Gakuen University, No. 1, Volume 5. This research was translated into Chinese in 1957. In later years, Hayashi Kenzo published many papers on the explication of the Peapod notation and has had a far-reaching significant influence in the academic circle. Yeah, this is Hayashi Kenzo, is a Japanese scholars. Yeah, this is the first in 1957. It's translated into Chinese. So the Chinese scholars began to study. Yeah, he read many, especially this books is very important in the decoding as the temperature of the Gagaku, the Japanese Gagaku, the Hayashi Kenzos. And one, on the study of the Chinese notation, we also mentioned some scholars of Lulan Chaoping, Lulan Chaoping's works. She collected the studies more than 80 music pieces of the Song Dynasty, and the Kaufman, his music notations of the Orientals, Concerning ancient Chinese scrolls studies, it is also important to mention the British scholar Lawrence Pickham from the Cambridge University. In the 1940s, Pickham, who was once a biologist, visited China. After meeting Ching players in China, Pickham has since forgot an indissoluble bond with the Chinese ancient music. In his contribution of the new Oxford music history, Pickham translated the Jiang Baishi. Pickham translated the Jiang Baishi songs, Qing music's Gu Yuan, and the other ancient music of the Siling Guangji. Following these works, Pickham dedicated himself to the study of the Chinese ancient music notation. In 1972, at the many Japanese libraries, Pickham collected and copied a large number of the scrolls that had been transmitted from China to Japan. After Pickham's return to England, he formed a research group in Cambridge that focused on the Tang Dynasty music. The members of the research group were the Rambert Walbert, Elizabeth McCombs, Aaron Merritt, and Condic, and others. In later, these other members joined the research groups, including the Japanese scholars Mitani Yoko and Nick Song from Australia. The studies groups also training the young scholars, including the Stephen Nelson and Rockwell. Besides studying the Chinese ancient Peapod notation, Pickham's research group also the studies flute notations, Hakuga no Fuefu. Hakuga no Fuefu, and long sitar notations, Jinchioroku, notations of the mouth organ and the Shinsen Shotikifu, and other works. The research group has provided the comprehensive studies on the above notations. Their thesis was published as Music Aesthetic, Volume 1-6, by the Pickham's Chief Edition. During the 1980s, on the basis of the research group's achievement, Pickham completed the 20 volumes of the music from Tang Court, of which the 7 volumes have been published. Especially in the music issues, and this is 20 volumes, but published only 7 volumes from Tang. In the early 1980s, research on the Peapod notations began in mainland China. In 1982, the Shanghai Conservatory music professor Ye Dong published an article on study of the Dunhuang Peapod notation and translated the entire scores into the modern score as well as the performance in the music. Because of the attention from the media, there were an increased amount of interest in China toward the Dunhuang notation. Ye Dong objected to the Hayashi Kenzo's explanation that the Dunhuang notation has no rhythm or the beats. Ye Dong holds that the dots and the blocks on the right side of the Dunhuang notations are the rhythmic notations. Ye Dong interpreted and the block symbol as marks of the emphasized beat or the beginning of the measure. Basis on this interpretation of the arithmetic notations, he translated the 25 pieces of the Dunhuang Peapod music. Ye Dong's interpretation shocked many Chinese scholars, and as a result, many scholars entered the debate surrounding the problem of the arithmetic notation. Among these scholars, the Shanghai Conservatory of Music, Professor Ching's more scientifically interpreted and the Dunhuang Peapod scores on the basis document of the arithmetic elements from the end of the Tang Dynasty and beginning of the Song Dynasty. Yeah, this is research. The part 3, Reconstruct and Ancient Music. Those ancient notation words translated correctly, the final aim is to restore the original sound. How to present to our listeners to the music created 1300 years ago. It is very difficult to achieve considering the current state of the Chinese music, because the Chinese musical instruments have undergone great changes. Music sounds were not yet passed down. Though the shaosong in Japan still keeps the musical instruments of the Chinese Tang Dynasty in the 8th century, Japanese Gagaku also used many instruments in the Chinese Tang Dynasty. But Japanese music also changed in over 1,000 years. As a matter of the fact, Japanese Gagaku is much different from the performance in the live music dance depicted on the Dunhuang cloud murals, Hu Xuan dance, like this. Yeah, this is a Dunhuang. Yeah, Hu Xuan dance is. It means the spinning dance, and Hu Ten is the jumping dance in the Tang Dynasty. Yeah, it's quite different with the Japanese the Gagaku. With the development of the Chinese economic during the last 20 and 30 years, tourism boom has brought about the hot pursuit for the historical culture. The dance performance express of music of the Tang Dynasty, such as Silk Road, Flower Ring, and Prok Bipa behind the back, Dunhuang music and dance etc. Those Tang Dynasty music and dance around the Silk Road, however, lack the sense of the music because lack the sense of the history, because their performance is mostly with the modern music instrument, and this is a imitation of the ancient music. To restore ancient music or the original of the Tang Dynasty music and dance, I think the first things to do is make a model of the academic edition, possibly strictly following the ancient model. Probably the approach can be started as follows. The activities of the restoration are based on the ancient notations. Selected the Tang Dynasty music from those carried forward in Japan. The oldest root Peapod notations just mentioned in above, the Tenbiao Biwa, Gogen Biwa, Dunhuang Peapod scores discovered in Dunhuang, and notations of the long sita, Jing Jioloku, and notations bamboo flute of the Hakuga no Fuefu, notations mouse organ, Shinsen Shotikifu. Some programs may have music created in the combination with the poems in the Tang Dynasty, so as to make the music possible, have the characteristic of this area. It is suggested to the product the concerto program. Selected form of the scores of the ancient notations. 2. Make ancient music instrument. The making of ancient music instrument is so important because it is the condition to restore the original sounds. Shaosui Museum in Japan keeps the 75 pieces of music instruments in the 18 kinds in good condition, which are all the instruments Tang Dynasty of the mid-8th centuries. In 1967, the music instruments in Shaosui museums were published after Japanese scholars' investigation in the detail. The book gives the detailed account of the instruments in the Shaosui museums, measurement, materials used, and the methods applied. Therefore, the ancient music instruments in the period can be deprecated. The third, the restoration of the ancient dance customs and adornments and the postures and the movement. There are a large quantity of the performance postures kept in the ancient literatures, Buddhism's caves, and the unearthed and archaeological cultural objectives. How to display the ancient dance and customs and adornments and the postures and the performance image, it can be achieved now by the dance and the music performance. Fourth, the restoration of the sound. It is impossible to fully restore of the music of 1,000 years ago on the condition that the sound history has not yet been forward. What we can do is to restore the sound notation by making music instrument possibly very similar to the original instrument in ancient times, including sound, customs, and postures in the dictionary of the viewable requirement of the modern people. We expect such notations will be presented to you. The interpretation of the ancient notation has been undergoing nearly 1 century in China. In the last 30 years, China attempted to present the notations on the stage of the different areas. Due to the various reasons and the conditions, it is a difficulty to really restore ancient music or the performance nearly the same as the ancient time. China has a rich and colorful music and dance in Tang Dynasty and along the Silk Road. We will do our best efforts and complete to reconstruct the ancient music. Thank you for your paying great attention.